Welcome back to the Happy Clients podcast, where we are talking all things agency life and keeping clients happy. On today's episode, we are so excited to bring Will Wang onto the podcast to talk all about his agency life and how he went from an introverted freelancer to a very successful agency owner that he is today. So we can't wait to get into this episode, and we think you are absolutely going to love it. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Happy Clients podcast, brought to you by Dot & Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Here's to Happy Clients.
Why don't we jump in? Why don't you tell us about you, Will, how you got to be the founder of Growth Labz, and how you ended up here. Love a little intro into your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, awesome. So it's been quite a journey, I've got to say. Lots of highs and a lot of lows. I guess I started this whole journey. I was in corporate, working in corporate IT as a data analyst and a business intelligence manager. Fancy title, but all it meant was that I was literally on spreadsheets and Google Sheets every single day, bored out of my mind, really not liking it. And I kind of saw from my managers and from everyone else in the company that if I continued on this path, 40 years on the track, I'd still be unhappy, be overweight, I'd be playing politics and doing all the stuff that I didn't want to do. So I realized pretty early on, hey, I think I need to change careers, but I just didn't really know what else to do. I was extremely introverted, couldn't sell, really freaked out talking to people. But one of the things that I was doing at the time was, playing a lot of games on gaming forums. And for some reason or another, I just started to talk to people about websites, these people I'm playing games with. And very, very slowly and bit by bit, it'd be a project every year or every 6 months, I started to do web design for some of these people. At the same time, my father-in-law had a really successful business creating kitchen bench tops for people as well. So I thought, well, I kind of like writing. I'm getting a lot of praise and compliments for the way I'm writing these people's websites. Why don't I try do something with this and become a freelancer? So I started taking any and every single job I could get my hands on and started as a freelancer more than anything else. And over time, as I did more of these websites, people started turning around and said, look, the websites are great, but we're getting no traffic. Can you help us with the traffic problem? So that's when I started to go into the Facebook ads and the LinkedIn and stuff like that. And it's kind of just evolved from there pretty organically, with a lot of struggle and hard work throughout the journey as well.
So starting from, I guess, even the gaming times, or that pivot from sort of freelance to owning an agency and really developing not only a team, but some really awesome services. Like, how did you get there, Will? How did you kind of pull that trigger, so they say?
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer. I think the best way to look at it is I made a lot of mistakes. In the first 2.5, 3 years of my journey, it was, literally just eating dirt every single day, making every single mistake I could, not being able to pay the bills. We're really good now. We're a great agency with great clients, and we've really specialized in a certain field and certain services, which has really helped us to stand out. But in the very beginning, it was literally anyone who had a credit card or who could pay me, I would take on that job. And I'd kill myself doing a million different things for a million different people. But through the process, one of the things I'm a big believer in is getting coaching and getting other people's perspectives. So I started to really get other people's thoughts and, really their help on narrowing down what I was really good at, and then really focusing on the strengths and stuff that I like doing. And that kind of really helped us develop into the agency that we are today.
And just for all of the people that would want to know what kind of service you are, Will, what does Growth Labz offer? What's your scope of work? Your digital marketing, but so much more.
We're a very B2B specialized agency. So there's a lot of agencies out there who do a lot of different things. We've just chosen to be really good at B2B. B2B because one of the first ways I was able to generate clients for ourselves consistently was through cold emails. So we got really, really good at the cold email game. And to the point where we try and pitch clients on Facebook ad services or funnel building, and they turn around and say, look, I don't really care about that, but can you write these emails for me so I can send it to our leads? And so that's kind of a big focus for us. The other side, we do all the copywriting around funnels and ads. We probably manage about $500,000 a month in Facebook and LinkedIn ad traffic. So we do that part as well, but it really is about the copy, the B2B side of things that we specialize in.
Wow. That's so cool. I think that it's hard to find agencies that do copy and advertising or copy creative and advertising. So that's pretty unique and a huge benefit for your clients for sure. I want to talk about your team and how you've grown from just you to where you are today. And obviously, we want to talk about client account management, but how and when did you know it was time to grow a team?
The first indication for me was I was doing all of these activities for my clients, like finding contacts. A big part of that process is finding contacts and leads, and then obviously writing and sending them emails. And I was spending 90% of my time and a ridiculous number of hours every week just finding these contacts, which really easily was outsourceable. And so when I realized, look, I'm working 70 hours a week and a lot of the hours I'm doing, they're low value activities. That was the point where I said, look, I've got to get this off to someone else so I can really focus on the high value stuff. So that was the first indicator for me. And we started off outsourcing virtual assistants to help me with the whole lead finding process. And it's grown from there.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And Will, you actually have a pretty strong and many VAs helping you along the way. How do you kind of recommend that management of even remote team members and not everybody being in the same office? Because there's a ton of parts moving around and you guys seem to do a really great job of keeping it all really centralized and really, really fun for everybody.
Thank you. I think it happened by accident, a very lucky accident in that my very first VA, who's been with me from the very beginning, she was just amazing. There's a process we go through for hiring VAs built on how I hired her, but it really is about the attitude, the willingness to learn, how dedicated they are to the company. And so from my first VA, she introduced a few of her friends and her network, and we've built it very organically. So a lot of it's friends and family, a lot of it's people who have worked with my other team members before. And when they come into the business, they're not just accountable to the business, but also to the friends and family who brought them along. So that's really been helpful.
Totally.
Amazing. I think that's so important too. And we're finding that too with our team is the people that are recommending other team members to us are just that much more dedicated or that much stronger or more passionate. And yeah, that's amazing.
And I actually find that to be a really important, I guess it's a soft skill, but it's really important just in terms of building that trust with a remote team, which we all know is super important, like especially during things like global pandemics. Like there might not be a time when you can all fly to like a retreat somewhere or all get together. So that's just like levels up the trust too, which I'm sure is super important.
Yeah, it's also so different culturally too. Because one of the things, especially depending on where you hire in the world, and I'm sure we get to this because, shameless plug, you guys found me an amazing client account manager who just fit in so well, but she's got a different background to most of my other team members who are based in the Philippines. And that's a very unique culture in terms of how they handle feedback and criticism and how they work as part of a team. So it really depends. And you're never going to be perfect. We still go for team members at this point in time where they'll come in for a few weeks and we realize really quickly, hey, they're not the right fit. So there's still a process around that, but generally you tend to get better with it. So we're up to 20 team members now. So our process is pretty tried and true and tested, but we still have mistakes. So it's always a process of try and put yourself in their shoes, be empathetic, understand that not everyone's the same. The culture is a little bit different, but also if everyone has the same goal and we're all working towards the same common end goal, it makes things so much better.
Yeah, I love that element of culture too. Will, you definitely have a larger team than some that Dot & Company works with, but I do feel like that element of community is, like I said, just adds to the attitude of everybody even. And we think the same thing, right? We have to kind of all be team players, which is amazing. And I actually had a question for you, Will, just a little off topic, but you said you were introverted maybe all those years ago when you were starting an agency, and now we're seeing you as a charismatic business owner. How did you develop that just even within yourself to really get out there and start networking and getting to know people?
I think it gets so much easier with time. At the very beginning, my question to myself was, do you want to eat or do you want to be comfortable? I knew that if I kept going the way I was, and with all the shyness and issues I had and mental blocks I had with talking to people, especially of the phone was a big weakness of mine. I just knew though that if I couldn't get through it, I'd never have my own business, because I started to realize very early on, business is more than just the service that you deliver or the results you get for your clients. You need clients first to get those results. So everything is so based around trust and communication and sales. I just realized really early on, I've got to put myself through the uncomfortable stage of getting good at this stuff, even if it's not native to me. I've got to get really good at this stuff if I want to grow and build the life that I want to build. Yeah, so it's just kind of taking the hard way through it, really.
I think that definitely can speak to a lot of not only agency owners, but people working in agencies. It's so high pace, and those pivots and those relationships really can change quickly. And usually that communication and those touch points, I mean, obviously we live by it, but yeah, they're just so important. And I think putting yourself out there could be super valuable for a lot of people, just to know that gets bad before it gets good sometimes.
So let's dig into your experience before maybe hiring someone to manage your clients, because I know when you came to us, Will, you were kind of trying to figure out if this role even made sense in your agency. So paint the picture of what life was like maybe before you came to us to bring someone on board.
It's been life-changing, I like to say, and I don't like to overemphasize, overhype things, but it really has been. So pretty much before working with you and getting your help with this role, there were so many different things that I wasn't aware of. So I thought I had to hire for multiple roles. I thought I had to hire for a project manager, an account manager, a separate marketing strategist, and I tried to hire internally for that role, but it just didn't quite work out. And it's a role that I had tried to bring up juniors and coach them into that role. Didn't work out. I'd hired someone who was more senior to try and come into that role. Again, didn't quite work out just because of the environment that they were in. And so I was kind of getting to the point where I thought our growth was capped. It wasn't a bad point. We had really good revenue, really good profit, but I was working a lot of different hours, and I'd constantly be having to change my calendar in a certain way to try and meet those. So I try and batch all my client communications. I try to batch my organization days. Then I try to batch days where I'd be sitting down and doing copy. It sounds great in theory, but there's always a bit of creep here and there. So every time you get a bit of creep, my hours would blow out. So I would fluctuate from some weeks having to work 30 hours to other weeks having to do 70 to 80. And it wasn't so bad because I did that at the very beginning, and there was a lot of hustle at the very beginning, and I didn't get paid for it, right? There was like very little payment. But at least now I justified it saying, hey, at least I'm getting paid for it now. But it's still not a lifestyle that's sustainable over the long term. I knew if I kept going the way I was, I'd only have probably another year or two left before I burnt out. We were starting to get to that stage where I woke up like, I'm not that hyped about what I'm doing today, but I know I've got to get through it just because there's bills to pay and employees to pay as well.
So, okay, firstly, that's amazing. Life-changing. Oh my gosh. Gives me shivers when you said that. So when you went from figuring out you needed to hire a client account manager, then you came over to us and we looked at your scope and kind of what the agency needed. When you were introducing this client account manager into your agency, what were some of the main things that they took off of your plate that you were maybe doing before and that was sucking your time?
Yeah, so I think the main thing that's really saved me a lot of time is just the project management side of things. So project managing things, helping to coordinate what clients get sent when, helping to coordinate feedback from the client phone calls into actionable steps that we've got to deliver by a certain time frame. So my weakness is that organizational project management side of things. I'm creative. I like writing copy. I like coming up with new marketing strategies, but I'm really bad at the organization stuff, which my team will definitely put their hand up and say that I'm probably one of the least organized people around. So that was a massive time consumer for me just because I'm so bad at it. It took way more time than it should have. That for me probably took about at least 10 to 15 hours off my plate straight off the bat.
Wow, that's insane.
You didn't start an agency to be busy 24/7. You started an agency for the freedom, but instead you're busy. You're wearing all of the hats from agency owner and Facebook ads expert to client account manager and hiring manager. You're doing your best, but your agency isn't where you want it to be, running itself while you sip a Mai Tai on a white sand beach. Whatever the problem, there's one thing you know for sure. You need a proven solution, one that integrates tested systems and empowers your team to run and scale the business on autopilot. Hi, I'm Emma, a client account manager at Dot & Co. and your training manager inside the CAM School. Over at the CAM School, we get it. As former digital marketers, we gave up that agency hustle to zero in on what we do best, keeping clients happy. As the world's first and only dedicated team of client account managers for digital marketing agencies, we can help keep your clients happy too with the exact systems, training, and templates we use every day to support seven-figure agency owners as their remote client account managers. Are you ready to make your dream agency a reality? Enroll your team in CAM School for instant access to the exact systems and training we use to train our own superstar client account managers. Jump over to thecamschool.com and use the code HAPPYCLIENTS to get a special bonus valued at over $1,000 just for listening to this podcast. I'll see you in the CAM School.
And it's no secret, like people feel that way for sure. And I feel like a lot of that, we don't always hear project management necessarily, but just like agency owners being like, it literally takes me 3 hours to write an email. It's not my sweet spot. I love hearing that. And I love even when Dot brings all these tools to the table and client account managers come with the tool belt on. It's really nice to hear that you have some extra time, and whether that's dedicated to family or growing, that, or maybe both, the balance is really appreciated. I'm sure like 80-hour work weeks, you would have been burnt out for sure.
Yeah. So Will, I want to know what's next for your agency. What are you working on? What are you excited about? Tell us what's next.
Yeah, so the agency's in a great place. We're getting really great, we've got really great clients who just make such a big difference in terms of the work that we do. We're getting really good referrals and leads, and we're growing organically at the moment. So we're not trying to push too hard because we're in what I think is a sweet spot in terms of the number of clients we've got in the work we're doing. So what it allows me to do though is look at other passion projects and things that I'm really interested in. So our agency will always be, it's a business I love. I love working on the clients. It really lets me learn and experiment with new ideas and marketing strategies, which is so exciting for me. The other side of it though is I'd love to have a few other businesses where it's not so service dependent, right? Like for example, software businesses or courses of my own, for example. So I'm taking the time that we're saving from the agency to work on those passion projects. So that's next for us. And a couple of really exciting things that we're working on. We're going to try a hand at SaaS. We're going to try a hand at courses. But it ultimately comes back to, well, I've got so much freedom now, I can go after the legacy project or the business that is going to do 50 to 100 mil easily.
Love it. I'm so excited for you.
Should be
I feel
fun.
like
We'll see.
That's
I feel
so
like
cool.
if you have a course on like the secret sauce to copywriting, I'm there. I can be the beta, like send it my way. That is just like really, I mean, to have it all in house, like that would just be amazing. But that's definitely something people would need for sure. I know probably both Taylor and I would be your first clients.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, who is your target market? So agencies out there who are listening, what niche do you specialize in and who can we send your way?
We specialize in a lot of tech, but at the same time, it's always really interesting to talk to other agency owners. So it's funny that you joke about the copywriting thing. I am thinking about a course in copywriting for agencies. So potentially something, if other agencies want to learn how we use cold emails for ourselves and for our clients to generate leads and clients, that's something I'm happy to have a chat about. But on the client side, tech's big for us, financial services, those are our two niches where we really specialize in. But even the online courses space, we're pretty strong in as well. But they have to be really good clients because we're pretty in a good spot and we don't need a lot more clients.
That's a good thing to have in place, because if you're going to work with people, you want to make sure it's worth it.
And just so I know, obviously Will's from Australia, but you do work with clients across the globe, correct?
Yeah, we're probably 40% US, 40% Australia, and then 20%, I think my maths is terrible, by the way, so I hope those numbers make sense. And then 20% UK and one client in Canada, I think. So we're kind of worldwide.
I wonder if we know them.
Just a little Canadian humor there.
Oh, that's amazing. Will, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was awesome to hear your journey and how you got here. And it's no doubt that you've been wildly successful. And we know that you will be wildly successful in everything that you do. But yeah, thank you so much for jumping on, and it was a pleasure to reconnect with you.
Thanks for having me. And thanks again for all the help with everything that you've done for my team. We were saying before the recording that it literally has been a 90-day difference from the time that you've named dropped already, Katie, but from when Vicky's come into our business, it's been a massive change. So, very grateful and thankful for all the help that we've got from you as well.
Oh, we put this huge emphasis on matching, and sometimes, there is even a wait period to find that perfect match, but this has been one of our best works for sure. I just feel like it's like two peas in a pod.
Now that you're traveling and going to all these conferences, and I'm like feeling like I could possibly start to do that. Any masterminds or events that you're going to in the next year that I should know about that are like agency-ish or like tech-ish?
Oh, good question. So next year TNC, obviously that's the most obvious one.
Yeah.
At AdWorld, hopefully they're back in person. I just spoke at the virtual AdWorld conference.
Okay, yep.
But hopefully they're back in person, because it is it's really a good conference. So I hope they're back next year as well. If you can, and this is very limited spots, but James Schramko has an amazing mastermind in the Maldives.
Yes.
So living on a luxury yacht for a week and
I'll be
surfing
going
and swimming the bluest waters. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Definitely.
But aside from that, I'm looking at what masterminds I can join to. I'm a big believer in masterminds. I get so much value from them.
Well, there you have it. That was another episode of the Happy Clients podcast with Will Wang from Growth Labz. Thank you so much, Will, for coming on and sharing all of your wisdom with our amazing audience. If you are looking to learn more about Will, head over to his website, www.growthlabz.com.
Here's to happy clients.